Paul George, Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, CJ McCollum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Victor Oladipo, and Pascal Siakam. Not only have all of these players been all-stars at least one time in their career, but they are also players who have won the Most Improved Player award. In fact, those are the last 7 players to win the award, with Pascal being the most recent. The past few years, Pascal Siakam has not only been showing up, but he's been showing out, and he's been shocking almost everybody in the process. Siakam's wingspan is long. I'm talking about like 7'3" long. Siakam is a rangy impact player who has been major for the Raptors in more ways than we may know. When we saw Siakam win Most Improved Player last season, not only did we see Siakam win this prestigious award, but we also saw what he could do alongside Kawhi Leonard being the number 2, the number 3 option in the playoffs and during the course of the season for the Toronto Raptors. For the Raptors, for Toronto, winning a ring was history. It was something that this team had never done before. The Raptors have had some exciting teams, and they've had some great players. Chris Bosh, DeMar DeRozan, Vince Carter. And yeah, we're not gonna forget the impact that DeRozan had while in Toronto and everything he did to help put that team in a position to go out and get one of the best players in the entire NBA. You could call the trade for Kawhi Leonard heartbreaking, and I'd probably agree with you, but who knows if the Raptors are in the same position? Who knows if they win that championship without one of the best two-way players in the game currently? I feel like, to an extent, the run that Kawhi and the Raptors went on simply isn't talked about enough. Not only was Kawhi ridiculously efficient during his run, you could say at times he simply was not 100%. When efficiency meets volume, and volume meets playing both sides of the basketball, it's a dangerous thing. The Raptors were a complete team, and Kawhi a complete player. While Kawhi might not wow you with his passing, he'll still make the right one. And with teams selling out to stop this dominant scorer, that's all you need. With the Raptors fresh off of a championship, questions started to arise. What would be next for this franchise? What would the future look like with Kawhi headed west, going back to LA? There was a lot of talking. While some thought the Raptors would have a marginal decline, some flat out thought this would be a lottery team. And I guess if they didn't have the right mindset, they could have been. Despite losing Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors' defense has actually improved. This team has gone from being the number 5 defense to the number 2. Siakam has gone from being the number 2 scoring option to the number 1. And let's be completely honest for a second. Siakam is a player that doesn't need a play called for him to score the basketball or have an impact on the game. Despite Siakam's rapid improvement the previous season and the seasons before that, he's still going. He already has 1 Most Improved Player award, and he's looking to become the first player to win 2. Although, of course, I'm not sure Siakam has his sights set so short. This is a player who's looking to get not only another championship, but a player who can contend for the MVP award in coming seasons. Bam Adebayo, Brandon Ingram, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Devontae Graham. All players who have had massive leaps this season. And the scary thing is that I'm leaving players out. But regardless of who you think the most improved player is, I think it's hard to argue with what Siakam has done this season. Just a season ago, Pascal was averaging 16.9 points. A season before that, he was averaging 7.3. And in his rookie season, he averaged 4.2. Now, Siakam's averaging 23.6 points on 45.9% from the field. And he's shooting the 3 ball at nearly 36%. Siakam is an absolute terror to defend, simply because he's a matchup nightmare. I always think the NBA is so interesting because we get to watch the evolution of the game. While every year the league may not be drastically changing, it's changing all the same. Tweener. We're going to come back to this term in just a second. I remember around 10 or so years ago, the Golden State Warriors had a player on the roster by the name of Anthony Randolph. And I'm not here to compare Pascal Siakam to Anthony Randolph in any way, shape, or form. But I thought Anthony Randolph was going to be a big-time player. It seemed like he had fit the direction the NBA was going, but it just so happens he may have been 5 or so seasons too early. He was in the perfect system, an up-tempo system that would later help shape the rest of the NBA. And while you can call that an overstatement, let me have my moment. But to be short, Anthony Randolph was a flat-out beast. He was a player 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", with a long wingspan that could handle the ball and push the pace. Oh yeah, and defensively, this guy was a walking highlight. But by many, he was labeled a tweener, and his NBA career didn't match that of his potential. It sucked, but he's had an amazing career overseas. There's been a lot of different rumors that have circulated Anthony Randolph and what led to his demise in the NBA. Some of those revolving around Don Nelson, some of those being that he was a tweener, which leads us to Google the definition. What is a tweener? A tweener is a player who is able to play 2 positions, but not ideally suited for either position exclusively. So this player, this tweener, is somebody that fits multiple positions but doesn't necessarily excel at one. And while now that's a great thing, that's something that in fact a lot of teams covet. In the past, it wasn't. At least not at the rate that it is in today's NBA. Sometimes I wonder, what would have Draymond's career been like if he played basketball in the early 2000s or the 90s? As it stands, Draymond is an absurd needle mover, a key piece to one of the greatest teams of all time. But would things have been the same if Draymond played 2 decades earlier? In the NBA, we've been seeing more and more teams go after players who were power forwards or 4s in college and convert these players into versatile high-level 3s or 4s, and even in some cases, 5s. Coming into the NBA, NBADraft.net had Pascal Siakam as somebody who showed tremendous defensive ability and had the ability to utilize their size and wingspan alongside their quickness, an absolute terror in the open floor, and will outwork their opponent hustling down the floor on every single possession. And I can tell you firsthand, not only has this been true in college, but in the NBA. Pascal Siakam, while only averaging 7.5 boards a game, at times it could flat out feel like 20. The Pelicans played the Raptors this season, and watching the Pelicans try to stop Siakam simply wasn't something I was ready for. Siakam has the ability to not only be everywhere on the floor, but to make it feel like you're playing against 4 or 5 of the same person. Playing hard in the NBA alone gets you a long way. That's why I got love for guys like Jimmy Butler, Giannis Antetokounmpo. But when you play hard and you have the skill, you become a different beast. Siakam's ability to guard nearly 1 through 5 makes him invaluable to what the Raptors do. This is a team that's not afraid to get up in your face and force you to put the ball on the ground and make a play. This is a team that wants you to be uncomfortable. Oh yeah, and then don't get me started on the offensive evolution. We already know Siakam could finish. We already knew Siakam had the ability to be a catch and shoot player. Now this guy's hitting pull-ups and creating his own shot. While he still has a very long ways to go, his improvement is undeniable. For reference, last season, Siakam was shooting pull-up 3-pointers at 12.5%. This is simply something that wasn't in his bag last season. This season, he's all the way up to 34.3% on pull-up 3s. While that number might not wow you, it helps to make a player as versatile and as skilled as Pascal Siakam unguardable. And look, I'm not saying he's there just yet. I'm saying that this is a problem that now other offenses have to account for. This not only makes him more dangerous, but it makes the Raptors more dangerous as a whole. I love what the Raptors do, and I love their role players and the players they already have on their roster. Everybody knows their role and they know how to fulfill it. The Raptors are a team that can go out and get stops and push the tempo when they need to. This is a team that is also comfortable settling down and scoring in the half court. Kyle Lowry, Van Fleet, OG, these guys are all fantastic players. And you can say Van Fleet is a guy that could have possibly been an all-star this season. And look, I'm not saying he should have been, I'm just saying he was playing basketball at a very, very high level. And of course, like I said, Siakam isn't the only guy to step up. Norman Powell has nearly doubled his points per game, going from 8.6 to 16.4. I love what Ujiri is building, and I love the moves he's made. At the trade deadline last year, Gasol was such an underrated get. And man, don't get me started on Serge Ibaka. Nick Nurse and Casey, they've done their thing. And the thing is, Nurse is still going. Having a winning environment, a winning culture does a lot for a team. So does having a good coach and a good GM. While many analysts mark Siakam's further breakout this season, I don't think that takes away from what he's doing and what he's going to do going forward. With Toronto sitting at the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, who knows what's next?